relax. When you wanna come.
Hello once again, wrestling fans, and welcome to Off the Top Rope Radio, heard worldwide on KQCK Radio Stations. I'm your host, Brian Schenk, and in the next hour, we'll discuss all that is professional wrestling. You'll hear the latest news, informative interviews with the biggest stars in the business, and maybe even a few surprises along the way. It all starts right now on KQCK Radio Stations, USA and Costa Rica. And yes, indeed.
Internet, my friend. How can I help you?
We're online.
All systems go.
And in your face.
Yeah. We are in your face, and we're here on Off the Top Rope Radio. Today is Thursday, May the 8th, 2014. It's NFL Draft Day, baby. So you can listen to the show, watch the show here, and then after that you can turn on the draft and cheer for your favorite offensive lineman or quarterback or wide receiver or defensive back or safety, whatever you want. But just listen to us at least for the next 58 minutes or so right here on Off the Top Rope Radio. Welcome, everybody. Like we said today, Thursday, May the 8th, 2014. We're glad you can be part of the program right here on KQCK.com. Heard exclusively each and every Thursday, right here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget, we've also got some fantastic programs on this radio station. You can win some cool prizes. There's a lot of great music going on. The good thing is about KQCK.com is when you turn it on, you can just keep it on in your background. You can hear great music all day, 24/7. You can hear like stuff like Cheap Trick, Led Zeppelin, Blackfoot, REO Speedwagon, David Bowie, Kiss, Bob Seger. I mean, even stuff that's really old like, Alice Cooper, and maybe even go back and listen to some Pointer Sisters and Eric Clapton and stuff like that. But it's all right here on KQCK.com. But right now, for the next hour at least, we're going to be talking professional wrestling on Off the Top Rope Radio. My name is Brian Schenk. Welcome. We do appreciate you tuning us in and checking us out today. Spread the word to all your friends and all your wrestling fans and buddies out there that we're on every Thursday right here on KQCK.com. You can also email us at any time during the show at Brian, my name, Brian, at KQCKRadio.com. It's very easy. Brian with an I at KQCKRadio.com. Like I said, we do appreciate you making us a part of your Thursday evening, and we're going to have a great program because a lot of things are going on in the world of wrestling, and we have a very special interview later on. We're going to go back in time about 15 years or so, maybe a little longer, and check out some of the greatest things going on in wrestling back in those days, the WWE Attitude Era, and someone who was a big part of it for a while, and boy, she looked good doing it. She is Miss Ivory. That's right, former women's champion. And we're going to talk about all her things that she did in the WWE and some of the things she's doing now and maybe some of the things that she wished she would have done. But she's an active member in a lot of great things and a lot of great charities and a lot of great things that happen in the wrestling world and outside of it. We're going to discuss that all right here on Off the Top Rope Radio. Before we go any further, I want to bring on my buddy, my co-host for the evening, and someone who always has a lot of great things to say in the world of professional wrestling and knows quite a bit about it. He's my good buddy, Doug McDonald, live via satellite. He's the senior editor of WrestlingRumors.net. I recommend you go to that site each and every day. Like them on Facebook. They'll send you updates all the time. You get all your news, all your opinions, all the great stuff on WrestlingRumors.net. So without further ado, what's up, Dougie Fresh? How you doing, man?
What's happening, man? I'm talking to you, and I have the draft test on my computer right now. Who goes first? Of course, Houston Texans get the first pick of the draft, but let's not talk about NFL.
We could talk about that later. I'm interested to see the draft. I'm going to watch some of that when I get home tonight and definitely check that out. I still got to catch up on some other things too, but a buddy of mine sent me this really cool documentary about the World-Class Championship Wrestling, kind of like the rise and fall. It's not the one the WWE did, but it's a very awesome documentary. I started watching it before I was coming here to the radio station. I'm going, damn, I got to get in the shower. I got to go to do the show, man. So I'm going to watch the rest of that, watch some draft, hang out with the wife tonight, just drink a few beers and enjoy life because that's what it's all about right here on Off the Top Rope Radio. But let's go ahead and talk professional wrestling. Another interesting week in the WWE. And I also want to talk about TNA this week, too. I know we don't get a chance to really focus too much on that, but I want to kind of talk about that near the end here when we before we hang up because there was some pretty good wrestling this week on TNA, and I kind of want to get your opinions and thoughts and see where they're going with that. I know sometimes some people just say, oh, it's not worth watching, but I think think this last show they did was pretty good, and I kind of hope the direction they're going continues. But let's start out with Raw last week. Opened up to a very cool segment, in my opinion. They said they're going to do a 20-man battle royal. The U.S. Championship was on the line. The defending champion, Dean Ambrose, said that if he got eliminated, he was done. That meant there would be a new champion. I want to say one thing about this 20-man battle royal, Doug, before we get your opinions. I thought it was fantastic, and I'll tell you why. There was no outside interference. There was no goofiness going on. It was a straight-up battle royal right out of the 70s and the 80s. It was just purely good entertainment. We saw some really interesting things happen, maybe some future storylines coming out of it, and this also, in my opinion, adds credibility now to a new U.S. champion, takes the belt off of Dean Ambrose, who really hasn't done much with it, and now he can concentrate on having the 3-man, the 6-man battle with the Authority right now, with Evolution, and I really think this was a good move, taking it off of him, now putting it on Sheamus, and that's an interesting choice, but one that I think I'll like, because there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of thoughts and things going on about Sheamus eventually going a different route now, maybe redeveloping his character, possibly a heel turn, possibly just kind of tweaking his character a little bit, maybe getting a little bit more egomatic. I don't know, but let's start from the beginning. What did you think of the Battle Royal itself all around, and how did you think that the ending kind of just developed nicely into showing Sheamus as the heavyweight champion, but also showing that demise and that disgust and anguish on Dean Ambrose's face after he knew he lost the championship? I thought it was fantastic.
Definitely a good way to start off the show. I said on our program last week that I thought they were going to take the title off of Ambrose before Extreme Rules.
Yes, you did.
Instead, they used the night after to do so. Mm-hmm. And good move. He doesn't need the title. He's not doing anything with it.
Right.
Even though he has some stats for you. Dean Ambrose has wrestled almost more, I think he's actually wrestled the most matches over the last year.
Yeah.
The Shield were in a lot of matches, but Ambrose himself was in the most matches for the past 365 days.
Right.
He's a working guy. He never defended the title, really. Mm-hmm. And that just goes to show you the state of the title.
Yeah.
Just where that title is right now. It's useless.
Right.
But I thought that they did a good job of making me care a little bit about it, putting it right at the start of the show, and giving it to a fresh face. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Sheamus, sure, but putting it on someone new, mm-hmm. It gives it a little bit of a spark. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here. We could see Sheamus Barrett at some point to unify these titles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is a good thing to have. And what you said about Sheamus, he definitely teased a more egotistical side coming out, a heel turn possible coming up soon.
Right.
And he even continued that on Twitter today.
Yes.
And the funny thing was, Dave Meltzer writes in the Wrestling Observer that Sheamus and Sin Cara got into a backstage brawl in New York during the tapings this week, and that Cara got the best of Sheamus.
Wow.
Well, then Sheamus goes on Twitter last night and says, don't believe everything you read. That's just how, Mexicans and Irish kids hug it out.
Aha.
So he acknowledged it.
Planting the seed.
He didn't say that it didn't happen. He didn't say that it did. He just, he just played it off. But then today, he sent 3 tweets, just kind of, calling people that read dirt sheets dirt sheeters, and
you dirt sheeter.
Basically, don't believe everything you read. And I'm not Triple H's workout buddy. We worked out together 3 times in 2009.
Yeah.
Just kind of had this heelish vibe to him, because that's something that he would not have done
right.
As a straight up baby face. He's addressed fans that way.
Well, there you go. And using that social media too. Yeah, that's a good thing, though. I just want to interrupt you for one thing, though, Doug. Using that social media is the strongest thing the WWE does because so many people pay attention to that. And like I said a minute ago, that's kind of planting that seed. And I think that was a really good idea by having him go ahead and doing this freshly off his new title accomplishment. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Correct. No, I agree. It's the same kind of thing that Ryback started doing when he turned heel.
Yeah, it is.
And it was literally Ryback would tweet something and delete it, and tweet something and delete it. And he really started getting the attention of the internet sites. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was just kind of completely crazy. It didn't work very well for him as far as what he thought he was going to do, but it made him have about 2 months of attention to him, at least on the internet.
Yeah. No,
when he was doing nothing on TV.
Yeah. Well, let's go.
It's a good route.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the Extreme Rules pay-per-view because I want to kind of get into this and kind of maybe touch on each match. It seems like our time when we're on the air together, you and I, it goes by so quick, and I definitely want to make sure that we get it all in there. Extreme Rules took place at the Izod Center, as we all know, in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We'll kind of go match by match here. The Shield versus Evolution. I think we both last week said that we thought that the Evolution would most likely go over in this match, but a big turn of events. The Shield defeats Evolution. It was a pinfall. I believe Roman Reigns speared Batista. That was a good move not to have anything go on between Roman Reigns and Hunter, because if you saw on Raw the next night, you kind of even saw after the match was over with the Wyatt family that you had Triple H putting Roman Reigns into a pedigree, but he got out of it. And to me, that kind of reminisces a little bit about when Bray Wyatt was put in the attitude adjustment by John Cena the night before, or the week before, their big WrestleMania match. I mean, they're teasing you. They're kind of giving you that sense of what's supposed to happen, and they want you to feel it and want you to believe it. And this was good to see them come back the next night on Raw, kind of keep that feud going. And to me, I thought after I watched this, and I thought about it, this was a good move to have the Shield go ahead and go over in this match because now they're going to get all this heat put on them. They're going to have all these attacks, all these cunning situations going on by Evolution, and it's only going to increase Evolution's factor as a great heel faction going on in the WWE. I like what they did at the end of the Raw. I don't think it was anything overboard or all overdrawn on the drawing board, so to speak. I thought it was nice. It made a lot of sense, and I like the way they did this. And now, at least for probably the next couple of months, we're going to see something going on like this, and I like that Evolution lost at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only match that I got wrong on the prediction list. And that was the only one that was a crapshoot, Right. If you wanted to go this way that they're going, then that's the perfect thing to do. If you weren't, and Batista was going to be leaving, let Evolution get the win here. But they've actually talked Batista into staying until Payback, and then he'll be gone for a couple months.
Right.
So Batista's going to be in a match. They still haven't figured out if it's going to be another 6-on-6 or if they're going to split them up and do Roman Reigns and Batista, Seth Rollins, Triple H, or Dean Ambrose and Triple H, and Seth Rollins or Randy Orton. They don't know if it's going to be singles matches on the pay-per-view yet, or if it's going to be 6-on-6.
Right.
But we know it's going to be Shield versus Evolution again. And Batista will be stepping out after that. So, at the match, I was highly entertained Sunday night and during that match. Again, for me, I liked the pay-per-view, even as predictable as it was. So, for me, I thought it was a great match, and it was in a good spot. It didn't need to be the man then. So I enjoyed it. I think we're going to get good stuff going forward. Monday night on Raw, we might see the Shield try to get an upper hand and get put down again. And then, of course, the week going into Payback, we're probably going to see the Shield finally get an upper hand going in, because I fully expect there to be some wins on the Evolution side that's coming around.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that'll eventually come, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. We're going to see some continuation of the feud. And I like it. You see some single stuff going on and whatever else. So it gives now Randy Orton something to focus on. Now they lost the championship. It keeps him in a high-profile main event type of angle and whatnot. So I like that as well. Let's talk about John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, the steel cage match. there was something kind of cool here. Someone wrote this. It said, Bray Wyatt may be gaining new brothers and sisters by the day, but will the Eater of Words succeed in bringing out the monster inside John Cena when both superstars are locked in an unforgiving steel cage? And basically we saw the outcome. We both predicted it. We both got it right. Bray Wyatt defeats John Cena, escaped through the door after administering the Sister Abigail move. Little creepiness involved in this, from what we understood, was most likely John Cena's nephew. I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one, and I just want you to kind of fill us in what happened afterwards, because I know you really got in depth with this match, being that Bray Wyatt is, I believe, probably your favorite wrestler at this time.
Correct. He is. And for me, the press conference afterwards was incredible. If anybody listening has the network, go watch the fallout after Extreme Rules and watch the press conferences. That press conference with the Wyatts, I mean, Bray was flawless on the microphone, amazing.
Oh, then we lost you there for a minute, Doug. You still there? Can you hear me, bud?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, you just were like silent for about 5 seconds there. Just kind of pick it up from where you said the conference and the network. Just pick it up from there if you would.
Yeah. So the match was good. It was a decent match, probably like a B- in my opinion for a cage match. A lot of unnecessary, almost over the top, but not there yet from John Cena. Like that, some of that just took away from the match. Psychology-wise, I understand why they were trying to do it, but it was a little bit too much. So I like the finish, and I like where it's going to go. They're going to have to do a bigger stipulation at Payback. I'm not sure what that's going to be.
I don't either.
I'm excited to see what it is. We're going to get a Buried Alive match at Payback, but that's a different main event. We'll get to that later. Yeah. But with a Buried Alive match at Payback, I want to know what kind of match. It's got to be like a last man standing or something between Wyatt and Cena. Or they go the route they're teasing right now, and it's the Wyatt family versus Cena and the Usos. Because they're wanting to extend the program between Wyatt and Cena possibly all the way to SummerSlam, and not just do a three-series match. So if they're going to take it all the way to SummerSlam, you got to extend it with different matches. And the way that Harper and Rowan are interacting with the Usos right now makes me believe that we may get Cena and Usos versus the Wyatt family, quite possibly at Payback, and that will give us some time going forward to the actual rubber match between Wyatt and Cena.
And for my money, that's okay, because with it being Payback, and I'm not trying to, make Payback sound like it's not an important pay-per-view. It's obviously a pretty good follow-up to Extreme Rules, but I have no problem with that, because if they are going to kind of focus on half or 2/3 of the Wyatt family taking on the Usos, and they're kind of going towards that program, I got no problem with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. The thing is that I hope that somewhere down the line we could even see the Wyatt family breaking into their own and having a good tag team match against the Usos, because like we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the tag division right now is kind of weak. I mean, we don't really have a lot of prolific tag teams out there. I mean, the Rhodes brothers are kind of, doing their thing and kind of, teasing this and teasing that. I mean, the New Age Outlaws are pretty much, in my opinion, dropped off the face of the earth in terms of being any. Done. Yeah, I mean, they were there for a little bit to kind of give some rub to that and, take the titles away from the Rhodes brothers, bring them over to the Usos. It worked. It made a lot of sense. And not to get too much off topic here, but I would really like to see them focus more on trying to establish a really good tag team division. And if they're going to do that with 2/3 of the Wyatt family, I have no problem with that on a pay-per-view. But down the road, I mean, I don't really want to see many six-mans with the whole Bray family. I just think, or the Wyatt family, I should say, Bray Wyatt family. I just want to see it kind of break out a little bit and do its own thing. And probably down the road, a year from now, we may not even be talking about a Wyatt family. I mean, there may be such a big, dissolvedness in the whole family itself, and it may just become, a bunch of singles wrestlers too. Could be that way with the Shield eventually down the road. Come August, if we do see Roman Reigns maybe breaking away from the Shield, I mean, anything is possible right now, but the seeds are planted to really kind of give us some good ideas of where they're going to be moving forward. And you talked about it last week too, Doug, as you said, there's about 3 top guys right now that are really going to move forward with the WWE, and that one of them is Roman Reigns. So, yeah, we shall see what's going to happen. I don't know. Let's go ahead and move on, because I know we're kind of getting up against the clock here. Let's kind of move on to some of the other matches here. We saw a new Intercontinental Champion, Big E. Yep. Big E lost the belt, and we pretty much predicted that one. Bad News Barrett, he had some bad news for Big E, all right. He became the new Intercontinental Champion. The Bad News Bullhammer, it was an awesome pop to the face there. The new Intercontinental Champion, and I really hope now that they put a lot of focus on this championship, because I'll tell you something, me being an old school fan, and always still quoting one of the best matches I ever saw was Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Macho Man Savage. Oh, yeah, like it, back at WrestleMania 3. Because that belt meant so much back in the day. I mean, you look at Pat Patterson, the first ever Intercontinental Champion, and then some of the other greats that have held that, like Tito Santana and Greg Valentine, the Honky Tonk Man, the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, the list goes on and on. Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. Been so many people have held that belt, and to me, the IC Championship is one of the greatest championships in all of wrestling. I really mean that. And now I hope that with someone like Bad News Barrett, who has been a really good focal point on TV with his personality, with his mic work, with his wrestling, and with his look, I hope they really now say, okay, let's run with the ball. Let's make the IC Championship mean something. Let's go with it.
Yeah, I only have a couple things to say about that. If Bad News Barrett doesn't get completely over in this character, this run isn't successful, he's done.
I agree with you. Yeah, I do.
They've tried so many different ways to get him over, and right now this is the only way it's working. So they have to keep it like this. They have to push him like this, and hopefully it'll stick.
I agree. Well, he had, let's think about it. He had Nexus. He had the Core. I believe he had a feud going on for a while with Randy Orton, if I'm not mistaken, when Randy Orton was a face, right? And that that kind of was okay, and it worked. I mean, the Nexus was a big thing when they made him the head of the Nexus. I mean, it was good, but after that, it kind of went up and down a little bit, left and right. Now, Bad News Barrett,
and look at where he was last year at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
kickoff show, losing the Intercontinental title to Miz.
Yeah,
only to regain it the next night on Raw. I mean, it's just awful booking.
I agree. So let's kind of go from there. That's a good move, though. I like Bad News Barrett. I hope he continues on and does something good with this. We'll talk briefly about this. Paige and Tamina Snuka for the Women's Championship. Paige retains that. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Let's move on to the big main event, which was Daniel Bryan defending his WWE World Heavyweight Championship in an Extreme Rules match. He defeats Kane via pinfall with a running knee to the face to retain the Heavyweight Championship. Decent match. The next night on Raw, I just think that it's kind of like a recycled thing we saw back in the day with Zack Ryder. I mean, to me, it's a little reminiscent of that. I don't think it's totally that, but there is some familiarity to this whole angle they're doing with Kane being the boogeyman, coming out and coming out and appearing out of nowhere and doing this and kicking up. I don't know. What's your opinions on this one?
It's dangerous. And the funny thing was, I was tweeting right when their segment started, and Stephanie closed the door, and there was a Kane mask on the door, and then the Kane mask was on the lantern, and it was just this really cheeseball stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that Bree's being used as much as she is, I instantly tweeted out, "This is dangerous," because I'm starting to get annoyed. And lo and behold, Mick Foley, the voice of reason, gets on Facebook and writes an entire novel about it.
Yeah.
And literally he literally said the same thing. This is dangerous for his character because let's look at what happened to Zack Ryder.
Right. That's exactly correct.
One of the most over guys at the time.
Yep.
Just got the U.S. title and it killed him.
And and you know what? And Doug, before you go on, even before he posted that, I thought the same thing.
I mean, smart fans are going to know that. They're going to be like, okay, now stop it. You're going to kill the guy that we put in the top spot, which may be what they're doing in the first place. But overall, you can't. Logistically, like logically, you can't do this to your main character unless you're wanting to sabotage his run,
right.
Because he literally, like, the Yes movement was such an organic thing. The fans put him in that position,
right? And
now they're going to rehash old stuff. Mainly, I mean, he was supposed to work Batista. The one-off with Kane was supposed to be at Extreme Rules. Well, Batista didn't want to work him. And they had to extend it to another match. I mean, Kane's going to be retiring soon, so he's going to take some time off. I can predict the Payback Buried Alive match will be Kane gets buried, and you don't see him anymore for a long time if you see him again, period.
Right.
So they're building towards that, but they're doing so in such a cheesy... I mean, this is going back to the terrible angles that Kane's worked before, like when he wrestled himself, like when Kane wrestled Masked Kane.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling that I had. It was like, okay, we're rehashing the Eve Zack Ryder stuff with a combination of, I mean, the car thing. There's a plug. There's a wire unplugged.
Yeah.
Like that's why the car wouldn't start. And then they get in the car and it starts. I'm like, I didn't see Daniel plug anything back in.
Nah.
It's the wires you're talking about.
Well,
So it just,
I know.
it just got bad, and I remember going, this is dangerous, and they need to start treading on a different thickness of ice, because right now they're on thin ice.
Yeah, we're on thin time here. We only got a couple more minutes, so I just want to run through really quick, because now we got about 3 minutes before we have to go to our interview with the lovely Miss Ivory. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about the El Torito versus Hornswoggle thing. El Torito wins that. We'll just leave that alone. Jack Swagger versus Rob Van Dam and Cesaro. We saw that Rob Van Dam eliminated Jack Swagger after a pinfall with a 5-star splash. Cesaro wins a triple threat elimination match via pinfall after delivering the neutralizer. You called it right. You got Cesaro, and I think this is going to be a good thing for him. Moving on now, so we'll see what happens there. R-Truth and Xavier Woods versus Alexander Rusev. 2-on-1. Nothing big. The old, submission thing to Xavier Woods. And I really like Xavier Woods. He's cool. I hope that he gets something down the road here relatively soon. And that's pretty much the whole Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Not bad from top to bottom. There's a few things there that I think that they're going to have to really work on now and see what's going to go forward from here. We didn't get a lot of time to talk too much about the TNA thing. I'll probably talk about that near the end of the show here and whatever else. But what can we expect now in the next couple weeks with some of the stuff we saw on this pay-per-view and what we can move forward to now at Payback? Give us about a minute's worth of that kind of conversation.
I think you're going to see Adam Rose and Jack Swagger at Payback.
Yeah, we'll see that.
We're going to see Cesaro RBD.
Yep.
Possibly starting to see Heyman kind of getting frustrated with Cesaro to kind of play towards.
You still there, Doug?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were just, again, you were gone for like about 5 seconds there, so.
I don't know what the deal is, man. I got full signal. I'm talking to you straight up. So, yeah, I mean, Sheamus defends the title. Shield either go against Evolution as a 6-man again or separate. Barrett, I honestly could see Barrett and Sheamus starting a feud. I mean, they're about to go overseas. So, I don't know as far as that. Big E's he already had his rematch, so they don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
So, that's where they're going. Usos, Cena with the Wyatts. I think that's where they're going to go there too.
I agree, and we'll just have to continue on, keep watching it every week, and see where we go at this. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for joining us. Like usual, check them out on WrestlingRumors.net. That's my buddy Doug McDonald. He's a senior editor on there. All your latest and breaking stuff is right there on WrestlingRumors.net. And Doug, you have yourself a good week, a good weekend, and we'll see what happens with our football teams here in about an hour, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, pal.
South Carolina, #1 pick.
Hey, there you go. You're probably gonna like that one. Jadeveon Clowney, I'm sure he's gonna go #1. There's probably no doubt about that.
He already did.
Oh, this is in the books now. See, okay, yeah, 5. You're right about that because 5. Yep, he did. He went. Who went #2? Do we have the first 3?
Greg Robinson went 2.
That's expected.
St. Louis.
Yep.
and Blake Bortez goes to Jacksonville.
What? They took Blake?
Yep.
Wow, that is a little bit of a shock there. I didn't expect that one, but now I gotta rush home and watch ESPN for like the next 16 hours. So, all right, man. Always a great pleasure having you on, buddy. You take good care of yourself. We'll talk to you next week right here on Off the Top Rope Radio, and check out my buddy Doug McDonald on WrestlingRumors.net. Man, you have a good weekend.
You too, man. Catch you on the next one.
Sounds good. Take care. All right, we're going to come back here in just a moment or two. We're going to be discussing some interesting stuff with my lovely friend, Miss Ivory. You remember her from the Attitude Era. We'll talk to her in just a minute or two. Don't go away. Coming right back.
More Pet Supplies has been the leading online source for pet doors and premium pet supplies since 1996. Take advantage of their product experts for all types of pet doors and installation options. Their friendly, knowledgeable consultants can recommend several options that work for your unique situation. They will ensure that you receive the best pet door to meet your expectations and budget. Whether you need a pet door installed through walls, doors, French doors, sliding glass doors, custom-made sizes, or through glass models, no one offers more choices. More Pet Supplies is also your source for the popular pet doors made by Security Boss Manufacturing, makers of the best pet doors on the market. Check them out now online at www.morepet.com. That's www.morepet.com, or call them toll free at 1-800-829-7876. Give yourself and your pet the freedom. More Pet Supplies and Security Boss products. Again, that's morepet.com. www.morepet.com. Hi, Marie here for wannasing.com. Are you looking for professional DJ or karaoke services for your next holiday party or get-together? wannasing.com can provide the best in sound, lighting, and a professional MC to host your next event. Whether it be a company party, birthday party, wedding, or any occasion, wannasing.com is ready to provide the fun and make it a night to remember for years to come. Call 480-664-8801. That's 480-664-8801. Mention this radio ad and receive a special discount for your next fun event. wannasing.com.
Yeah, we're going to get crazy tonight. Oh, yeah, don't die. No. I like that song, actually. It's kind of a cool tune. Back from the 80s, man. A blast from the past. Yeah, right here on KQCK Radio, man. Rocking and rolling, strutting, showing, vocalizing, socializing. Yeah. Anyway, all right, enough of that. Hey, I'm back here. Brian Schenk with you here. We're on Off the Top Rope Radio. Heard exclusively right here on KQCK.com every Thursday night. 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. I'll run it down for you. It's 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. And we're always glad to have some of the greatest and biggest names in the wrestling business right here on Off the Top Rope Radio, and tonight is no exception. She's one of my sweethearts. I love her to death. She is the talented and lovely Miss Ivory, known as Lisa Moretti. How you doing, Ivory?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Brian.
Oh, you're very welcome. You know, you got a chance, I should say we had a chance to meet for our first time at the Cauliflower Alley Club here a couple years ago. I got to tell you what a big fan I was back in the day when you were with Glow and doing all the things with, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and wrestled as Tina Ferrari, and then you debuted in World Wrestling Entertainment back in 1999. You managed Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown. You won the Women's Championship twice. You went to Right to Censor. You did a lot of things in the Attitude Era there in the World Wrestling Entertainment. Just looking back at your career, it just must make your head spin sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's life after wrestling that makes my head spin.
Well, I know when you were wrestling.
Sometimes you look back and you think, geez, is it harder to work for a living or get your head pounded in for a living?
Yeah, well.
But it's awesome to be, the travel of wrestling, and I can only imagine how hard it is now for everybody, but we just got, being on the road is really takes its toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice to be able to be in one spot as a normal person now working for a living.
Right. Well, we'll get into that, too. I want to talk about that later on, what you're doing and whatnot. But let's kind of go over your career a little bit here because, like I said, you've had a pretty interesting one. I know that at one point in your career, you were trained by one of the former I've been talking regular wrestling, intercontinental champion, former women's champion back in the day, Wendy Richter. She was a pretty integral part of your career back in the day, helping train you. I believe that was, back in the early, I'd say, mid to early 80s or whatever else. What do you remember from Wendy Richter? I mean, that's a great person to train you, huh?
Well, actually, the only training I really got was from Mondo Guerrero.
Really? I was going to bring
a few people, like in POW, when we went off from Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, we split off.
Right.
After a couple seasons of Glow, which, of course, it lasted 4 seasons.
Right.
Half of us split off and went and did Powerful Women of Wrestling, and that's where we joined up with what I called all the real wrestlers. Luna Vachon and Peggy Lee Leather and Bambi and Heidi Lee Morgan, and I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch of them, but those were the girls that took me aside and because they were on the show, they needed good people to wrestle with, so they wanted to make those of us that were willing to learn better than what we were. And we had a lot of learning to do. So those people, and of course some of the referees too, were the people that would stay up with you all night in the ring, just helping you with drop kicks and stuff like that. So, but Wendy was always someone that I looked up to because she was the big star of the time. And she was a commentator, and I think she just really rocked as a commentator on
She was
show.
good. She was good.
It's so interesting to watch some of the old footage because you can see what those seasoned vets bring to a program. And anytime she had a segment, it was like the show was worth watching,
Oh, well, and when she was wrestling, she was so fantastic in the ring, and, I know that she had her...
Wasn't she great?
She was great, yeah. She was great. I know she had some controversies and situations back in the day with what happened with her and everything else, but, that's neither here nor there. It happens in this business from time to time. But, a great person to learn from a distance and whatnot. I was going to bring up Mondo's name because I'm trying to get Mondo on the show here before the end of the month, and I'd love to pick his brain about a lot of the things. And you were in great company, I think, ever since the beginning of your career. And for those who are watching the show right now live on our feed here, we do a live telecast and the broadcast itself here from the studios. I've got a wonderful picture of you in the upper right-hand corner showing that you look very good in purple. We'll just leave it at that. So I wanted all the fans to know that. If you're not watching, there's a reason you should now. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. So. Well, let's kind of go back a little bit because we talked about some of the people you wrestled. And you mentioned a lot of the great names. Even someone like Candy Devine and Ashley Cartier, which you wrestled as TNA before there was a TNA wrestling. Tina and Ashley, and that was fun because I think that some of the women's wrestling back in the day maybe didn't get as much respect or recognition as it should have, but there was some really great names who did a fantastic job inside the ring, and I know every time all of you ladies went inside there, it was serious business, and you all busted your butts, literally.
Yeah, we did. It's, I don't know, you get I just always have a lot of respect for women who want to do well in the wrestling aspect of wrestling. Right. And, there's so many other aspects that females can, be a part of the show, but it's the women that want to really be workers that I just get such a thrill watching. Right. There's, the reason why I'm actually agreed to speak with you on your program today, Brian, was because of Cauliflower Alley Club. Yeah. And it's, it's a whole membership, it's a club that I just have recently attached myself to and have been embraced by. Right. And I think it's a really important place for wrestlers to stop by and visit with people, that have wrestled from way back to up and comings. And there's the first night of the show, or the weekend, there's a big wrestling match show, and they've got like 20 matches. You can sit there all night if you want. Oh yeah, and watch these guys and girls work their butts off, and it is, really entertaining. It's so fresh and fun to watch people, especially in a kind of a small arena like that, because it's very intimate. So you can see the people that are really committed to their performance, and It's just I just have a soft spot in my heart for the performers because I know they love what they do and they do it out of love, and they don't always get a paycheck for it. So,
well, and that's true because I remember when I spoke to Bobby Fulton of the Fantastics a few weeks ago. He said we were doing a labor of love because we loved what we were doing. It was, we were working hard at a piece of our lives that we really enjoyed embracing and getting into each and every time we stepped through those ropes. And like you said, now even though some of the divas that are out there now, I mean, there's some who are just fantastic. You look in the last 10 years or so, people like Trish Stratus who excelled, and Lita who just honored here, this past year in the WWE Hall of Fame. And women's wrestling, it's kind of like AM radio. You either get it or you don't. I mean, some people just don't really care for it, and some people really do get into it. And with the success of Shimmer over the years and whatnot, and people like yourself who have, like you said, come to CAC, and the fans who can just remember all the great memories that you shared and displayed over the years. Going back to CAC for a moment, I mean, that's a really special place for the true wrestling fan who has a chance to meet people like yourself and get a chance to relive the memories of when women's wrestling was pretty much, its own entity, so to speak, in the wrestling world. You had a lot of their own shows and whatnot, late nights. I remember watching Honeybee. Back in the day, Honeybee was, I think, on Channel 60 in Chicago, and Honeybee, the wrestler, would be, we got some great matches coming up here, baby. Sit back and enjoy, because Honeybee is on the air. And it just made you just really love what was going on in front of you. I mean, sure, there was a sexual appeal to it. Yes, I understand that. But there was wrestling purists who watched it for the wrestling itself, and the angles were done very nicely in a lot of ways, and you were a big part of that. So thank you for your time in the wrestling world.
Well, what's so funny is that you look back at a show like Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and when I went up to WWE in '99, people like D'Lo would pull me aside and say, "Oh, you were my favorite. I used to really love watching you." Yeah. And you think to yourself, Glow was actually kind of a sexual, that wrestling with a little sexual appeal back then, and look how innocent it is.
Yes,
it's so innocent compared to what we classify as alluring today.
Yeah.
So it's so funny how all of that, I guess the world just gets more and more desensitized, and the girls got to wear less and have bigger behinds and bigger breasts and all that to, titillate the audience.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's part of the business. You know what I mean? It really is. But
it is, I guess. But
Well, you did it.
There's nothing like I'll tell you. One of my favorite wrestlers is the let's see, Andrea the Giant.
Andrea the Giant, yeah.
You can watch her perform she's always performs at Cauliflower Alley Club. And, oh my gosh! I mean, how easy does she make it for any of her opponents?
Right. No, you're right.
She has such an appearance and such good skill and such good ring demeanor that she can tell a story with her presence.
Yep, she sure can.
So it makes it that much easier for whoever's wrestling against her to have a good show.
That's right.
But if you got if you have a ring full of just pretty girls, it's really hard to tell a story.
I agree with you on that one. You said it very well right there, without a doubt. We're speaking to Lisa Moretti right here, better known at one time as Miss Ivory from the World Wrestling Entertainment ranks. And there was an interesting period of time too, 1990, 2000, 2001, into that. Stone Cold Steve Austin was on fire at the time. The Rock, Mick Foley. I mean, there was so many great names, including yourself. And you managed Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown. You had a little bit of a face-off with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah in your first match. I believe it was on Raw, if I'm not mistaken. And then you were part of, at one point, you were part of one of the Ho Train with The Godfather. I mean, you were involved in so much. I mean, and it was cool to see how.
I was really lucky.
Yeah, you developed so nicely. I mean, you saw how it started out. I mean, coming out there and dancing, whatever else with the Ho Train, and you eventually, moved on to what you did in capturing the heavyweight championship for the women's division, that is. And you were around so many great people back in the day too. And I know you said that. I think you told me one time at Cauliflower Alley Club is that Brian, I was only as successful as the people around me who helped make me successful, and we all were successful because we all had a very common and strong bond. I mean, it was something in that sense of the word. I remember you telling me that, and when I heard you say that and watch you say it, it really meant something, because when you're in there with some of these great people, it just kind of rubs off a little bit on yourself, and you make someone else look better. And you talked about Wendy Richter being a great announcer, and that added to the whole dynamic of the show. And that was a very interesting time when you came into World Wrestling Entertainment, without a doubt.
I know. I was a really, really lucky person to come in when I did, because, man, that show was just, it was fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. It was fun to watch, and it was evident that people were having a good time watching it, because a regular non-televised house show would pack 18,000 people into an arena.
Yes, yeah.
Non-televised.
And the fans, the fans were lucky.
Maximum capacities at every show that we performed at, every arena, every town. And we did not have to go into smaller venues. So it was just a, wow, and talk about, you've got your own pressure of putting a match together and trying to pull your weight for 6 or 8 minutes, with a female match, but wow, you peek your head out the curtain and every minute is entertaining. I remember watching Boss Man, and, he was fighting against Triple H.
Yes.
And it was in Chicago, and he didn't even get in the ring for 10 minutes. And it was just artful watching him work that heel angle to, get a rise out of the audience before he even stepped foot in the ring.
Yeah, it was
it's that kind of stuff that you watch, and I guess it's like filmmaking. If you watch a really great movie, and then you watch a movie that really sucks, you can tell there's something to filmmaking and storytelling.
Right.
So, you watch those guys, and every single one of them just knew how to work their part and work with the audience and work in that particular town. And Road Dogg, he could do it, and he could be whacked out of his brain on, a handful of different pills and, no sleep for 2 nights. And I always thought to myself, geez, maybe I should try his way.
Yeah.
Because he certainly is good out there,
Oh, yeah, he just came back recently.
Never missed a beat, those guys.
Yeah.
Ever.
You were part of a very integral part of wrestling history, there's no doubt about it. I know there's a lot of wrestling fans who are big supporters and huge fans of the Attitude Era. And, you wrestled some of the greatest, and you were around some of the greatest. Some of the women we talked about, Terry Runnels at the time, Deborah was there, Luna Vachon. I mean, Luna Vachon no longer with us, and she was such a sweet woman. I met her only a couple of times, but always so very nice and pleasant. What are some of your memories of Luna Vachon?
Yeah, she's got, she was always, she was there the night I had my little one-night gig as a Godfather Ho.
Yes, she was.
And I was not under contract at that time. It was just, Jimmy Cornette needed somebody there, and I was someone on the West Coast that could do it. And she really welcomed me with open arms, and, because we knew each other from way back in POW days in the late 80s. And it was just so great to, bump into people that you know.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't been wrestling for probably 10 years or something at that time. So it was great seeing her, and I know she had a lot of, ups and downs with the company, but she was always really fun with me and pleasant and exciting to be in the ring with, because she really lived it, She never held back.
No, that's for sure.
She was just awesome, yeah.
Yeah, she was cool.
Gangrel, there's another talent, too.
Yeah.
He's just, he's phenomenal. Remember the Brood?
Yes, yep.
That was so fun to watch, wasn't it? When they come up out of the stage and they blow that blood on everybody.
Yeah, and they had the fire.
That was great.
The fire with Edge and Christian and everything else. I mean, that's really where Edge and Christian got their starts, with the Brood, and became great singles.
They were just perfect together, weren't they?
Yeah.
So good.
Great tag team back in the
day. Outfits they wore. And it was, look at that. It was like right before Vampires became, every other show on TV. So it was a good time. We had good writers and good crew, and it was a really fun time to watch wrestling.
Do you ever
part of it? I was just really lucky.
Do you ever miss being inside the ring nowadays, or are you pretty much glad your wrestling days are over in regards to that?
I think that if somebody threw me in there, I'd giggle and laugh and have a time of my life. But as far as doing it as a professional or performing, that would just make me all uptight and nervous, because you want to always be like you used to, and if you're not trained, you can't do it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
It's kind of, but I do a little performance things here and there, and I notice as the older you get, the more the butterflies don't feel very good in your tummy.
Well, they must be pretty butterflies if they're in your tummy. Let's put it that way. So we're speaking to Ivory right here on Off the Top Rope Radio at Brian Schenk on KQCK.com, having a nice little chat going back to the days of the Attitude Era and whatnot. And, after that, you eventually moved on to a very different type of character in the Right to Censor. And this was kind of cool because you had the long black or the long brown skirt, you had your hair tied up in a bun, and you were very much about being censoring this and censoring that. And I remember the one you had, I believe it was with China back in I think it was around 2000, 2001, if I'm not mistaken, when she posed for Playboy. You and Val Venus came out and gave a double team pile driver to China and, injured her neck. I mean, that was tremendous stuff. And I liked the Right to Censor. I think maybe I was one of the few who said, let's see where this goes.
We had a fun time with that one.
Oh, that was cool. What were your memories of that one? Did you really like that gimmick?
Oh, we loved it.
Yeah.
Everybody loved the Right to Censor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody involved in it, our whole group, and the cast, all the wrestlers liked it. Again, it was so easy to have a match with us because the audience hated us so much,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was just great. We had probably miles and miles of storytelling to play with all of our characters and with that angle, but it was a shame that it had to all of a sudden just disappear.
Yeah.
Into the Bermuda Triangle of, politics at WWE.
I liked it.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and I was really glad to actually have a part that I could sink my teeth into and really be, and I loved beating up China's cardboard cutout, and I loved the reaction that we got from the crowd, and it was just really fun to play into their hands, and that's what I mean. You need all shapes and sizes for the show. You need all kinds of characters. You need good guys, bad guys.
Yep.
And that makes it all, like you said, just a whole, it's all the components that make a good TV show and a good live show.
Well, and
the
thing is too is that it carried on after that a whole angle and whatever else. I mean, she challenged you for the women's championship at the Royal Rumble of 2001. You won that match, and you kind of re-aggravated the neck injury, and then at WrestleMania 17, she defeated you in a brief match. You had your I think it was it was pretty brief, wasn't it? I mean,
It was pretty brief, yeah.
And then eventually
I should have kicked out.
Well,
I would have just kicked out,
you could have held on to the championship. But, and then soon after that, in April of 2001, the RTC, the Right to Censor, eventually disbanded. What was it like hearing that the group was going to eventually be disbanded and kind of dissolved? Were you guys upset about that? Did you think there was something else you could have taken that to? Or do you think it kind of ran its course and satisfied what you guys tried to do with the whole situation?
No, it got aborted.
Yeah.
It got internally aborted because it just all of a sudden went away.
Yeah.
So it was something that was maybe too good to be true, and it was working too well, so it was stealing focus from other stories.
Right.
So I think it got politically squashed.
I like that. P.S. baby, it got politically squashed.
I was never a fly on the wall, and I was never part of the meetings, but it disbanded very abruptly, and nobody ever told us why. And we had to make up our own reasons why our characters weren't involved anymore. And you would do that from the shooting from the hip, doing interviews like we're doing today.
Yes.
I remember being at my house doing interviews that, you do when you're off work. You're still working at home on doing interviews and stuff, and I had to make stuff up as to why Ivory Right to Censor wasn't working with Stevie Richards anymore.
Yeah.
And then we'd call each other and go, "This is what I said."
Well.
So yeah, we were ready to ride the wave for a long time, and there was a lot of really fun stuff that we could have all been, we could have been continually embarrassed as our Right to Censor characters.
There you go.
It would have been really good TV, and it's like we were good bad guys to make a lot of good guys really popular.
Oh yeah.
And they just pulled the plug. So.
Well, I think that was probably part of the idea of doing that. It kind of accelerated the baby faces to get where they needed to be and whatnot. But I really got about 5 more minutes left in the show, Lisa, so I want to go ahead and just talk quickly about what you're doing now. I know that you're very actively involved. At one time, I don't know if you're still with them or not, but the Best Friends Animal Society, it's a no-kill shelter, which I think is tremendous. I'm a huge dog lover myself. I've got 2 beautiful pets back at home, and I know that you do a lot with this, and the downtown dog. I remember that about 5-6 years ago. Is the downtown dog still going?
Well, downtown dog was a business I started with a partner
yes.
here where I live,
and
it lasted all of 3 years.
Okay.
Embarking on our 3rd year, my partner kind of fell out, and you know how business partnerships do. She had different ideas, and her big idea was to just get me out of the picture. So.
Oh, sorry about that.
I did. I left that picture, and I just continued to do the same thing, but on my own in a smaller realm where I live. So I do all parts to make a living for myself. I do the grooming of dogs and cats.
Yep.
I daycare them, which means I run around the forest with them and take them on big pond swims and. You know, it's a normal thing to see me with 7 or 8 big dogs, and we're all off leash, and we're walking through the woods or at the beach or something. So there's a lot of private properties here that go on for acres and acres. So we can celebrate that together, and then we come back to the house, and I get to work and wash the civilized dogs and make them pretty, and then some of the doggies spend the night with me here at my house. So
man,
it's kind of a 24/7. It's like wrestling all over again.
When you say they spent the night with you,
24/7, baby.
Those dogs are, you hear the term, you lucky dog. I got news for you. If you're spending the night with Ivory, you truly are a lucky dog. I'm going to tell you that right now. So those dogs ought to be counting their blessings to be able to spend the night with you, because the Bow Wow bus, is the Bow Wow bus still going on?
No, I downsized to a smaller van.
So it's kind of like
My brother gave me his family van.
Yeah.
So I quickly acquired it and, revamped it inside so that it had all these little buckle-down belts for the dogs, and I put plastic down all over the floor so we can be all rowdy and messy in it, and it doesn't stink.
Yeah. Well,
and it's awesome.
You used to have
it looks like a gym.
You used to have a move called the Scoop Slam, which we remember that you were pretty prolific in that. Maybe you can call it the Pooper Scoop Slam. Maybe now, if you ever get back inside the ring. I mean, it's a possibility. There's a lot of options there for you.
Possibility. There you go.
Listen, Lisa, I tell you what, I really hate that we're up against the clock here, because I'd love to talk to you more about your career and about what you're doing with these wonderful animals, and I'm truly honored by what you do with them. I think that's a fantastic thing you're doing with your life, and just keep doing that, because that is so cool. An animal lover like myself, that means a lot to know that some of these dogs are getting an opportunity to be out there and be cared for and washed and bathed and played with and fed properly and given the right amounts of water and stuff. It breaks my heart when I see animals who are not taken care of, because all they want to give you is unconditional love, and when you can give it back to them, that makes a lot of great opportunities for them and yourself. So I know that's right. I know it's very self-rewarding for you as well, and I know it's something you're making a living out of doing.
It makes me feel great just being the facilitator of watching them have fun together.
Absolutely, my dear.
That's the thing. People think dogs don't like being around each other. Well, that's their most favorite thing in the world to do.
Oh, yeah.
And all you have to do is be brave enough to let them do it.
That's right, baby.
And it works every time.
It works every time. I love it.
It works every time. And so what we're able to do with dogs that know other dogs and play with other dogs, they go out in the world and they're good dogs.
There you go. I love Lisa Moretti. I love Ivory. I love everything about you. You're fantastic. You're beautiful. You got a great heart, and I'm glad that we're friends. And I look forward to talking to you here relatively soon down the road. I know that you said you're probably not going to get a chance to make it out to the CAC this year, but I know that in spirit you'll be there in your heart, and I'll make sure to tell everybody and anybody who asks about you or wonders where you're at that I know that Lisa Moretti, Ivory, says hello to all those people out there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I would love to go lay by the pool at Cauliflower Alley Club if I could just find someone to watch about 10 dogs for a weekend.
I know a lot of people would like to see you lay at the pool, too. All right, my dear. Listen, I thank you so much for coming on the show.
Brian.
You take good care of yourself and take care of those animals, and love you, and you take good care, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, our pleasure all the way. Very much so. You take care. All right. There you go. Lisa Moretti, Ivory, talking to us here about some of the things she's been doing, and it's an honor to have her on to talk about her wrestling career being a big integral part of the Attitude Era back in the day. I thought that was something that was cool to listen to and to watch and everything else. And, she was involved in some pretty cool angles back in the day and wrestled with some of the greatest. And I'll tell you something, folks, she still looks beautiful to this day, and she's a good person inside and out. I think what she does with these animals and these dogs and everything is just absolutely tremendous. And I really am so proud that she's a friend of ours here on Off the Top Rope Radio, and that she does what she does for the love and for the absolute happiness of the dogs. That's tremendous. So listen, we got to get out of here, but I do appreciate everybody checking us out. Just hold on, Linda. You'll get your chance in a second. But I want to thank everybody who had a chance to listen to us today and watch us here right on Off the Top Rope Radio. We're heard exclusively every week, every Thursday, right here at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain on Off the Top Rope Radio on KQCK.com. So everybody, listen, have a great week. Go watch the draft, see who you're going to get. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you next week right here on Off the Top Rope Radio. Good night. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you once again, wrestling fans, for listening to today's show. We would love to hear from you away from the airwaves, so we invite you to like our Facebook page at Off the Top Rope Radio. And any emails you want to send, please send them directly to me at Brian, Brian, at KQCKRadio.com. We'll talk to you next week right here on KQCK Radio, USA, Costa Rica.